Fund students, not systems. That is the concept behind a new education push at the Idaho State House. Since the last legislative session, some Republican lawmakers have raised questions and concerns about what is being taught in public schools and if Idaho students are achieving at a high enough level. Yes, this whole conversation is tied into the critical race theory debate. Of note, we've spoken with dozens of educators, administrators, and lawmakers on the topic, but specifically on accusations of indoctrinating Idaho students with slanted public school curriculum. The evidence jar is still empty. Today, though, a new bill was printed in the House Education Committee, a funding mechanism for students and families looking to go outside of all the traditional education means. It's called the Hope and Opportunity Scholarship Program, and we'll likely hear a lot about it in the coming weeks. For now, though, let's set the stage on what this new legislation aims to do. New legislation in the Idaho House aims to create more education options for Idaho families. The Hope and Opportunity Scholarship would create an education savings account for families.
This act would allow dollars to follow students so parents could access education services environments that work best for their children.
The concept is sponsored by Republican Representatives Dorothy Moon and Gayanne DeMordaunt.
Families can use these funds for private tutoring, curriculum, tuition, or fees at a private school, and there's other approved expenses.
Additionally, the program would allow funding for things like an online learning program, individual classes, extracurricular services, services contracted for and provided by a public district, charter, or magnet school, textbooks, computer hardware, technology, and more. So, who would be eligible for the program? Moon explains the major factor.
To be eligible, the family, their household income is less than or equal to the 250% of the income necessary to qualify for the National School Choice Lunch Program. Additionally, the student must be enrolled in an Idaho public school for 45 days before applying.
According to Representative Moon, eligible students could get up to about $6,000. That number is based on the current per-pupil funding formula the state uses to fund public school students each year. The goal is to allow families to pursue education options that best fit their students. Moon says in terms of transparency and the use of tax dollars, there will be checks and balances. For example, Moon says the program would include an up-to-date education service providers list that will be approved and can be added to as time goes on. Also,
the annual audits of individual accounts that will be performed by the department or by a private contracted provider to ensure that our public dollars are being used wisely.
The proposal puts aside about $130,000 to fund students interested in the program. Representative DeMordaunt says that they are basing the funding and interest from similar programs in other states.
Based on what has happened, the uptake of this in other states is right around 2,000 students. So that is 1% of our total students in the state.
The House Education Committee printed the bill after committee approval. It is expected to appear in the committee for a full hearing next week. At that time, we'll hear more discussion and debate. So very early on in the process, but already there are strong opinions for and against the idea. Supporters say that funding students over funding a school system through legislation like this, it prioritizes student achievement and success. Critics are raising questions, though, about taking funding away from Idaho schools and allowing families to spend public tax dollars on things like private schools. Next week here on the 208, we're going to dive more into this topic, so join us. There's a lot to dig into next week when the bill is expected to be brought up in committee again, and then we'll hear extended debate and conversation on that. So stay tuned on this one.